we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we underestimate what we can do in the next 5 or 10.
Hello, and welcome aboard another episode of the Captain's Lifestyle Podcast. This is your captain speaking, Taylor Morgan. On today's episode, we have another special guest. His name is Jeremy Herider. Jeremy is a lifelong athlete, thriving business coach, motivational speaker, and founder of Optimal Self. Jeremy is a strong believer in the power of purpose-driven productivity, and that's what led him to success in so many different ventures, including professional baseball, CrossFit games, as well as what he does currently, a successful online coaching business. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. I love hearing those intros, man. It always gets me back because I'm like, wow, that sounds really cool. Like, let's talk to that dude. Like,
yeah,
so,
right?
Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate being on. I love what you're doing. I love what you stand for. So, man, I was excited to get together with you.
Awesome. So let's go into a little bit of your background, and specifically, I want to touch on the professional baseball thing because I was a baseball player. My dad was a professional baseball player, so always like hearing those stories. So give us a little background about you personally.
Well, I mean, my mom will tell you from the day I came out, I was, throwing balls through windows and telling people I was going to be a professional baseball player. So literally it was, it wasn't even, I like to say it was a dream, but man, there was nothing else that lit me up as a kid, like baseball did. I played every sport. I loved wrestling. I played football. I played soccer, but baseball was just in my blood. But I'll be honest, like I wasn't the best kid. I wasn't, I was a very small kid. I was a late bloomer as far as like size and even height go. I grew 2 inches after high school. So, kind of give you an idea, but so from the time I was a kid, that's all I ever wanted to do is play. And, so it's really cute when you're little, right? When you're 6, 7, and 8, and you tell people I'm going to be a professional baseball player, they're like, that's cute, right? Yeah. Everybody's rooting for you. When you don't grow that much and you're 15, 16 years old and people are like, yeah, bro, you might need to,
chances are
slim.
Need
to change. You might need a plan B, C or D maybe, right? Yeah. Like it's not as cute anymore. But, I think, for the listener, I think an important, if I mind, I'll tell you a quick little story that kind of paradigm shifted me in the baseball world that I still use today in my life is, playing when the kids are bigger than you and stronger than you, right? Like they can get away with technique that's not so good, right? Yeah. Because they're just bigger and stronger. Mm-hmm. And at some point that catches up to you. And it's very hard to change technique later in, you know what I mean? Like you got to really want to do it. And a lot of those baseball swings at 12 years old, when you're hitting home runs, they don't work at 16.
It's just size.
Yeah. That everybody's your size now, right? The game's faster now. And so, but I'll tell you this. So when I was 13, my team won the championship, and the dad of the team was the coach of the team was my best friend's dad. And, I've been on vacations with him. He was my best friend. He's still one of my best friends to this day. And I thought, man, this is the year I'm going to make it, right? This is the year I'm going to make All-Stars because we won the championship. He's the coach. He's got to pick his like, I'm like a son to him, right? He literally calls me his son. Like, and then we get to that closing ceremonies that year, and the team is announced and my name was not called. Damn. And it was crushing, honestly, like 13-year-old boy, like, and I thought for sure, and I'll go back to that for a second, but and afterward you go to a pizza party, right? Everybody goes and the parents can drink some beers and the kids are playing video games, right? Everybody's done that if you ever played any sport.
It's the best.
And he's over there on the side. And so I walked over to him and I said, and I grabbed his hand, tugged his hand, and I said, hey, and he looked down at me and said, yes, son. And I said, how come I didn't make All-Stars? How come you didn't pick me? And he looked me dead in the face. And Taylor, I'm going to tell you right now, I can tell you what he was wearing. I can tell you what I was wearing. I can tell you what it smells like. I can tell you the sounds that were happening in that moment. It's that vivid still to this day. And he said, because you weren't good enough. And he looked me, I mean, it was dead in the eye. It was stone cold. And I know what it sounds like, right? Like, and don't get me wrong, I was crushed, bro. Like, it crushed me. My heart, my soul, I was like, oh my God. I walked away. I stood from the side when I thought nobody was looking. I took off to the front and I asked the lady if I could use the phone to call my mom. And so I call my mom, and the lady's saying, and she gets on the phone. I was like, Mom, can you please come pick me up? She's like, what's going on? It's a sleepover. You're staying the night there. You're staying the night with them. And, and I was like, please, I'm begging you, right? She's like, no. Like, okay, fine. I'm on my way. And so I hang up the phone. I don't even go back in where everybody's at. I literally went out the door and I sat on the curb right by the door, just waited for her to come. And she pulled up and I jumped in the car. And of course I started crying and, and she's like, what is going on? What is wrong with you? What's happening? Like every parent, moms especially, right? And she's just like, and I was like, just go. And she's like, look, Jeremy, I'm not moving this car till you tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
So I told her. And then, every parent does, right? They're like, oh, she's pulling into the parking spot. She's like, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. I'm like, please, I'm begging you, don't do it, right? And I don't know that she knew what she was doing at this point. I really don't. But I was begging her. She's like, you don't want me to go in there? You don't want me? And I was like, please, Mom, I'm embarrassed enough. Please don't go in there. She looked at me and she said, fine. It got very quiet. And even to this day, when I tell you the story, my body does the same thing. And she asked me this question. She said, what do you want to do? All right. You don't want me to go in there? You don't want me to what are you going to do? And just like now, man, I got this calm came over me, and it was a paradigm shifting moment, because what she was asking was, look, the milk is spilled, right? You're going to let it sit there and rot and stink up the place, or you're going to go get something, you're going to clean it up, you're going to move on, right? What is going to happen? What do you want to do? So in that moment, I literally asked her, I said, can we go to Big Five? Those of you guys who don't, it's a sporting goods on the West Coast. I don't even know if they have them anymore. Like Dick's is kind of taken over, just to give you an idea of what the size is, right, to the listener. And she looked at me like I was crazy. She was like, what is it, Big Five? I'm like, can we just go to Big Five, Mom? And she's like, literally like every parent, she's like, let's just go get ice cream or something. We'll just drown this thing. We'll get some distraction, right? A new toy at Target or something. And I said, can we please go to Big Five? She's like, fine, whatever. So we pull up to Big Five. We walk into the baseball section, and I asked, I can, same thing to Taylor. I can still see the sign, man. It was yellow. It was on sale, $19.99. And I said, can I have that? She goes, what the hell is that? And I said, it's a batting tee, Mom. Can I have that batting tee? She's like, this is what's going to make, and I'm sure in her head, she's like, this $19.99 is going to make this kid stop crying and be okay. Like whatever. She grabbed it off and we got it. And that day, same day, went home and I made that thing, and I grabbed every ball that I could find in the house and in the garage. And I went out back and I started hitting balls off that tee. And I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can hit 100 balls every single day. Every single day, I'm going to try to hit 100 balls. And I didn't know what I was doing either. Just like I don't know, my mom was if she knew what she was doing. But every single day from that day, I would get up and I'd go out there. If we were doing something, I'd do it before. If we got home and it was dark, I'd still go out there. If it was raining, I'd use tennis balls because they would soak up the water better. You know what I mean? And 14, I didn't make All-Stars. 15, I didn't make All-Stars. 16, like I want to be clear with everybody, right? You hear this all the time, but we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, and we underestimate what we can do in the next 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And if I would have went out there and just hit 100 balls and thought the next year I'm going to make it, and that's what we do a lot of times in our lives today, is we expect this immediate result because we put in a half-ass effort, right? But I didn't. I loved it, man. I just went out there and I just hit and I hit and I hit, and I'd put it in different spots and I'd adjust things. And there was a place they were building houses around the corner from us. And I went over one night and I stole this piece of plywood and I used that, and I'd throw balls up and let them bounce off there. Right. And baseballs don't bounce that well. So it'd be like a low ball and it would move. It hit a seam and I'd try to hit it. Anyways, every day, day in and day out and day in and day out. By the time I was 18 years old, now 5 years later, I was the MVP of the team. I was all league, and I was the only kid to get a scholarship to go play baseball. And for 5 years, that's all I did, is every single aspect that I could do, not just go to practice for the hour or two that was practice time, but what I was doing elsewhere. And I really want people to understand is that if we go back to that 13-year-old boy, is that I thought because he was like a dad to me, because he liked me or loved me even, that I should be on this team, right? It was going to be given to me. But he did the best thing in the world. He told me the truth that day. Because here's the thing, Tay, if there are 10, 12, 15 teams in that league, there's 120 other kids. 15 of them made the all-star team. So even if I was the 16th best kid out of, say, 120 kids, right? I mean, that'd be pretty good, but I still wasn't good enough for that team. And if I'm being honest, I hadn't earned the right to be on the team. I was thinking we won the championship and I played okay. I was good enough, right, at that time. But then they're taking the 15 best kids. And today you're not the best. But here's one thing else that I want people to understand is that it wasn't that maybe I wasn't the good enough that day, but he wasn't saying I would never be good enough. Mm-hmm. He didn't say that. He said, that team right now, you're not good enough. Okay. So what are you going to do? My mom, what are you going to do about it? Well, I'm going to go put in work. I'm going to put in, and I'm going to do it just so at least I know that if I don't make that team, it's not because I didn't work my ass off. It's not because I didn't do the things when no one was watching, right? We think it's just show up to the practice or show up to work and we should get this promotion and all these kind of things. And I learned a lesson at 13, thank God so early, that ladies and gentlemen, that's not how life works.
Yeah.
It's not how it works, but I'm in control of my effort. Right. And the cool end of that story is this: 7 of those 15 kids that made that team, including the coach, years later, bought a ticket to a stadium and came and watched me play baseball. Right. And it was great. I had dinner with them all and we had this, and I got to tell him that story. I said, you're part of the reason why I'm here. And he's like, well, not really. And I said, no, I don't know if you remember this. And I tell him the story and he was devastated. He was like, no, I did not say that to you. Right. He was like, no way. And I was, yeah, but thank you. Like, he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I said, please. I gave him a hug. I told him I love him. I'm like, no way, man. Like, you told me the truth that day. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we don't tell each other the truth, and not to hurt me. Again, as life went on, I knew he didn't do it to hurt me. He's not that kind of man. He has a salt of the earth, had a big heart, right? Like, he wasn't doing it to be, it wasn't even an angry thing. He was just saying, no, man, today you're not good enough. But look, if we go put in the work, if we're willing to do those things, then it's exponential growth at some point, right? The next year didn't make it. High school barely made the team. I got more water for the team than I did at bats that first year, right? It's like, but you just keep chipping away and you keep chipping away and you keep chipping away. And at some point, your skill level, everything starts to match up. But most of us quit before that time. Mm-hmm. We don't give it enough time. And that tea still lives with me today. Like, the tea that my mom bought that day is still in my life today. I haven't played baseball in, over 15 years now. I haven't played a game of baseball, but the thing is that it's a symbol, and I can still take that same idea, those same work ethic, that same into whatever the next thing is. Right. And to get there, because again, I wasn't the best kid. I wasn't the kid you were choosing. But I slowly built myself into somebody that, got to run on the field in front of 50,000 people, and get a paycheck to do it.
Yeah. And I see that LA hat behind you. Did you play for the Dodgers?
I did not.
Okay, good.
I did not. But I grew up a Dodger fan as a kid, and it's my girlfriend's son's hat. He's a huge baseball. He's 6, man. He's such a cool kid, and so he's a big Dodger fan. So yeah.
I'm a Giants fan, so we would have had to end the podcast right there.
We would have had to do it, right? Well, the good news is, I mean, I played for the Reds and the Diamondbacks. So Diamondbacks came in, we were still in the same division, but
nice. But do you make it all the way to major leagues, or
never made it into the big leagues in a regular season game? Played in the minor leagues, and then I was on the 40-man twice.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So,
all right. So what was the transition after that? So after Major League Baseball, where'd you go from there? Or not Major League, but professional baseball.
I sat on my couch, man. Like, no, for real. Like the first year, I did nothing, to be honest with you. Doing it the right way, you make a little money playing baseball. But yeah, man, I was actually on the couch doing not much, taking, I had a daughter at the time, and she was little, and we'd go to the park and take her to the beach. And I used to tell people, you could appreciate this, is when I got done playing baseball, because I wore a uniform my whole life at that point, right? I said, my new uniform is board shorts and flip-flops. And so, true story, I'd show up places, I'd wear maybe a collared shirt, but I'd have board shorts and flip-flops on that first year. And people are like, dude, you're gonna have to get your shit together, man. Like, dude, that can't be real, right? So anyways, the transition ended when I ran into a buddy of mine that was, that I played baseball against, actually high school, college, and pro baseball against. Wow. It was pretty cool. Our paths always crossed, and we got to be really good friends because of that. We're still friends to this day. And I walked into it. Was living in the Valley at the time in Encino, California, and I ran into him at a Gelson's Market of all things, and he was driving a 7 Series BMW and had like a $1,000 Armani suit on. I was like, what are you doing? Right. Like and I knew he hadn't been playing baseball for a while. He got out before I did. And he's like, oh man, we're renovating houses. And I was like, what is that? Like, and so one thing led to another, ended up getting my real estate license with those guys and flipping some houses and doing some stuff like that. And so the transition and the board shorts and flip-flops wasn't very long lived before, it. I was wearing a suit and representing our own group, selling houses and being involved in that. So I've been in real estate now, going on close to 15, 16 years. So, been doing that and leading offices, and now I get to coach and teach and do all kinds of stuff that's super fulfilling along the way.
So when did you put the board shorts back on and compete at CrossFit? Let's get into that.
Yeah, man. So quite a bit after. So about circa 2010, a buddy of mine introduced me to CrossFit. He called it the CrossFit, by the way. It wasn't like we were like,
well, at that time it was only like 2 years old. So
yeah, it was, that's 2007 was the first year that they really, so yeah, it was brand new. And I went to a gym, and just being an athlete and a competitor my whole life, and watching what everybody was doing in this place, man, I was extremely intrigued, did a workout with them, and was like, wow, this is fun. Right. I never really, to be honest, the competition outside of, I didn't really think about it, at that time, just because the truth is we went to the CrossFit Games and watched in July of 2010, just to watch. We were with my buddy, and he was really connected with CrossFit. So we got to go down on the actual stadium floor, after the workouts, and we were hanging out with these guys and girls. And I mean, they were just phenomenal, man. Like, I was just completely taken back. Right. And I tell the story. We were down there, the girls finished, the girls, not the boys, the girls. And I went over to grab the barbell that they were using and do the movement that they did. It was a snatch. And I tried to pick this thing up over my head and almost like threw my shoulder out. Like I was like, and these girls were moving this thing like it was like it was Nerf weights. They were just, I was like, holy cow. And it intrigued me a little bit more. And so we got home and we were YouTubing videos and doing it in the garage and all that kind of stuff. And around 2011, decided like, hey man, like we need a bigger place. More people are starting to want to join us. And so I was like, I want to just make it a business. And so I built the gym and got that thing, and it was incredible. So from late 2010, like early 2011, we opened the doors, and that really got me into it. So then I did, again, if I can go back to baseball, like when I got older, what I would do is I would search out who was the best infield coach, who was the best, guy turning double plays, I was a middle infielder, so, baseball, I mean, just every aspect, I'd want to be around those guys. And so CrossFit, I did the same thing. I drove around from city to city and, get a hotel room and go join these guys and try to get as much learning and training and as I could from the guys that were doing it. They were the best. And which is really cool, is that community, like everybody was so open to it. They were like, yeah, man, come on down. And so
what area were you in at the time?
I was in Southern California.
Okay. So did you train at like the, CrossFit Santa Cruz, like the original? I have been there during that time. Yeah, we made a trip up there because that's the number one. That was the one. Yeah. So yeah, I did go up there and got to join in and see them and see the gym and all that kind of stuff back in the day. But I lived in Southern Cal, so Santa Cruz is northern. Right.
So,
yeah.
But I did take a weekend. No, we did, but we took a weekend. Me and my buddy, we took a weekend. We went up there, actually did a certification there for some weightlifting stuff, just trying to learn. I took every class I could. I took every certification I could. I just wanted to know how to move right and do it right. I knew that my strength, just based on being an athlete and training my whole life, was going to be pretty good. Yeah. But then it became down to the technique and how well can I move? And I knew from baseball that technique wins every time. Like you got to make a good swing, especially as a young kid when I wasn't strong enough. If I could make a good swing, man, I had a chance. But so that's the same mentality that I took into it. And before you know it, man, I did a couple little of these like off competitions outside of the CrossFit Games. And the first time I was like, 57th out of 100. And a year later, I won that same competition. Wow. So that time I was 57th, and I just said, man, I think I could do this. And I started, because then I started focusing. I started, understanding better. I started learning, the different energy systems. And
you bought another batting tee.
100%. There you go. I did. I was like, all right, let's get the reps in. Let's start getting the reps in. And that's what I did. I just worked on the things that, over and over and over. It's the mundane. It's the things that nobody else wants to do. And a year later, I won that competition. 2 years, literally, no, not even, about a year and a half after that, I qualified for the games. And during the CrossFit Games, I won the deadlift box jump event, first number one in the world. Like, nice. That's
a gnarly combo too.
It is.
So you being in SoCal, did you ever train with Coach Bergner?
A lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been to Mike's gym, and he's a huge proponent of the basics, like PVC pipe. Do it right before you add weight to the bar.
100%.
Especially with something like the snatch. Extremely technical. People go in trying to muscle it. Like that's me. Just not going to work.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't. And I mean, Mike is one of the greatest humans. If you ever have a chance, I mean, to sit and talk with, man, like I had a couple really, really deep, amazing conversations with him that, and then you can see it in his coaching and how he treats people. And he'll let you come to his house for free. Like Mike's
super knowledgeable, super generous.
Is with his time, with everything. Yeah. Just, and those are the kind of people you want to be around, man. He's the kind of guy that turned me even more on to CrossFit, because he was just so genuine. I just, I love everything about him.
You drank all the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Especially with those guys, man. There's a few of those dudes that, man, I'd have a beer with those guys anytime, anywhere, man. So
what about Jason Kalipa? He's more Northern California, but
he's NoCal. Yeah. But my paths have crossed. I have a great story. When I was getting my level 1 certification so that I could even own the CrossFit gym, he was one of the coaches. And they said at lunch, like, hey, if you guys stick around, and Jason and Dave Lipson was the other guy who's married to Camille, who's also won the CrossFit Games. And they were going to be working out. Dave, I don't know if you know this, but Dave is an ex-baseball player too. So Dave and I have been chatting it up a bit. And so I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to stick around. I'm not going to go out to lunch. I'm going to stick around with these dudes. And Jason made again, I was still very, very new to this, but again, I was like, I could play just based on my mentality. Like I wasn't going to give in. I wasn't going to give up. Like I'm going to grind this thing till the wheels fall off kind of guy. Right. Well, they were doing a deadlift handstand push-up workout. And so we were warming up and, there's probably maybe like 4 or 5 guys that stuck around, and Jason give us a little tutorial. So he gave me 2 little pointers, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like it was like night and day of getting the weight off the ground. Right. It was like a 225 deadlift. So not a ton of weight, but it was volume. Right. And after we did this workout, they were like, we're going to do some strength. We're going to do some, 5 rep max deadlift. And he came over again, gave me another pointer, worked on a couple things. In that day, then that afternoon, I got a 50-pound PR on my deadlift. Again, I say that, and for the listener, they're probably like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Well, it goes back to how important technique was. I wasn't 50 pounds stronger, right? I just leveraged and moved correctly to what my body could actually do. Yeah. So because I was stuck at that point, not because I wasn't strong enough, it's because my technique was not good enough. And when he could see my levers compared and move my butt down a little bit, this point, that, pull the feet apart, like boom, 50-pound PR in an afternoon, just by learning something new. And I say that, talking about your audience and the captain's lifestyle and how do I captain my ship? Like, it's not always about, am I strong enough? Am I good enough? It's what do I need to learn? Right. Like, and that was it that day. I needed to learn that movement. I needed to learn that technique. And now all of a sudden I'm that much stronger and better, almost instantly. Right.
Yeah. He's a fantastic coach.
One of the best. And again, one of the best dudes you can ever meet too.
Yo, Taylor here. So I'm sure you've heard me harp on sleep and basically every single podcast and video that I put out, because it truly is that important. And I'm excited to announce that I've created something very simple and very tactical that you guys can use to start improving your sleep immediately. In fact, it is the fastest way to improve the quality of your sleep and therefore the quality of your life, with amazing results after just one single night of implementation. Seriously, this is the same nightly ritual that I personally use, and it's the same strategy that I teach all of my high-performing clients in the Captain's Lifestyle program. It's the 4-3-2-1-30 method, and I'm giving it away to you guys for free. All you have to do is follow the link in my Instagram bio or in the show notes of this podcast, and I'll send it over so you can start sleeping better tonight. But please do not sleep on this offer. It's literally free. So no excuses. Go do it, and sweet dreams.
Have you read this book, AMRAP Mentality by Jason Khalipa?
No, I haven't.
So yeah, he's fantastic CrossFit coach, but he's also an extremely successful businessman with his gyms, NC Fit, and he's got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So this book talks about the AMRAP mentality. And if you're a CrossFitter, you know that AMRAP stands for as many rounds and or reps as possible. Right. So in that book, he talks about how obviously, in CrossFit, you do an AMRAP, your sole focus is on that AMRAP. You're not thinking about what you're doing when you get home. You're thinking about crushing yourself, getting as much done in that time domain as possible. And he talks about taking that same exact mentality into every area of your life, into family, into business, whatever. So when you're with your family, especially like this is a big issue with the entrepreneurs that I coach, because they're all high achievers and they want to achieve, success in business. A lot of times when they're with their family, they're kind of half and half. Half their body is with the family, but then their mind is thinking about business. And then, common example, the wife is talking and person, the dude is physically there, but mentally he's checked out thinking about something else. And so that's what that book talks about, is just being fully present in each moment to get the most out of it.
That's such a great point. Yeah. And I've heard him tell that. I've heard him tell many of those stories. And with us at Optimal Self, one of ours is, I call it 100 or nothing. And it's exactly that concept, is that whatever you're doing, because it's not a long time, even when you're just working on something, give it 100% of your, most people, even then, the people that are doing what you're talking about, the entrepreneurs out there that are, half in, half out at home. Well, guess what? They're half in, half out at work. That's why that's why they're not getting their work done. How you are here is how you are everywhere. It's not as if that's the only place you do it. No, that's your whole life. Let's be very, very clear on this. And so with us, we call it 100 or nothing, which is the same mentality, is that whatever you're doing, if it's for 10 minutes, give that it. Don't check Facebook. Don't have 100 tabs. Don't be looking at other things. Like, literally give that your 100% attention. When you go sit down with your kids, I'll tell you a quick little story. Is my daughter, I have 2 daughters. At the time she's 11, she's 21 now. And at the time I was running a very, very successful real estate business, and we was busy. We were closing a ton of deals, every single month, every single year. And it was a Sunday afternoon and I was at home, and she was like, "Dad, you want to watch a movie?" I was like, "Yeah, baby, grab it, grab a movie." And no streaming days. It actually had DVDs in those days. I had to put it in. So she grabs one out of the rack and she puts it in, and we grab a blanket and she moved the ottoman together and we lay down, and, she's right here snuggling next to me, and my phone goes off and I check it, and my phone goes off and I check it. Before you know it, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it, and she gets up and goes, I think she's going to the bathroom. Well, at that point, then I really grab my phone and I'm texting, I'm checking emails, I'm doing everything. Right. And I didn't even realize the time, and I look up and there's no, the movie's almost over, and she never came back. So I'm like, maybe she's not feeling good, so she went to the bathroom. That was what I thought. When I go around the corner, I walk down and get to the hallway, and I see that the bathroom door is, the lights off and the bathroom door's open. She's not in there. And I walk down the hall a little bit farther, and her room, her lights on, and her bedroom door is just cracked. It's not all the way shut. So I walk down and I open the door. Let me paint you this picture. This is not my clean daughter. Shit was always on the floor. Bed was never made. Her room is spotless, and her bed's made, pillows, and she's sitting on her bed, which is facing, the opposite, the other way. And she's literally sitting there, and I push the door open. I see her, and I'm like, "Ryan, baby, I thought you wanted to watch a movie." And she does this. She's like, "Yeah, Dad, whenever you want to watch a movie, let me know." Never looked up, never looked at me. And you talk about paradigm shifting moments, the same thing Jason's talking. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. You want to talk, you punch in the gut, the face, all of it. She wham. She was and she was right. Again, I want everyone to hear this, because I could have justified what I was doing. I could have said, "Hey, we're closing 100 deals this month, and I got this going on and that going on." And
that's the natural reaction too.
Everything I do affords what we have here, right? The whole parent bullshit, right? But no, man, that's not true. It's what you tell yourself, but you're lying to yourself. And she was right. And in that moment, I said, enough is enough. That can't be. That little girl deserved 100% of her dad, and he wasn't there. So those entrepreneurs that are listening, just know that when you do it here, you're doing it somewhere else. And the people that matter the most feel it the most. But that's also probably why your business isn't where you want it either. Yep. Right? Is because you're half in and half out. You're thinking about this. Oh my God. And I'm questioning shit. And I have all these other things. No, man, look, just settle in, give it 100%, give it the AMRAP mentality. Like Jason would say, 10 minutes here. And then if you got something else I got to do, again, we can bounce, but don't be bouncing in and out. Get that done, and then move to the next thing. Right? Don't try to do these things together. And the same thing goes, man, all she wanted was what? Maybe in 90 minutes with me to watch a movie. Was anything going to change? No, It's a freaking Sunday. There aren't even escrow or title or banks open.
Yeah.
Right?
I've had a few realtor clients, and one of their biggest excuses that they like to give me is, oh, well, when a client texts me, like, I have to go acknowledge that. And I ask them, well, do you? Like, what happens if you don't get your phone right away? Like, they don't know what's going on. Like, what if there's an emergency and you actually can't get back to them? What would happen? And then I go on to say, like, okay, if you want to create a successful business, you cannot be 100% centered around your clients. Like, you have to set boundaries, because for me, and I'm sure for you in our coaching, if we were to open up our entire 24-hour schedule, whenever you want, you can call me, I'll be there for you. We would not be able to coach, because we would be so burnt out from, staying up late, stressing out on calls, not being able to go out and do anything we want. Because if we're trying to give everything to other people, we have nothing left for ourselves. And then therefore we can't really do anybody any good. So.
Well, you said the word, right? Boundaries. And that's what we don't set. What I say,
it's all gray area.
Because you get what you tolerate. And so even those clients that are telling you, like, oh, I need to be there for them, you know what you haven't done? You haven't done a good job up front then. Yeah. You haven't set the standard up front. You haven't given enough understanding and knowledge up front for them to be able to, because the truth is this, even in anything, is sometimes you've got to be able to navigate some of this stuff on your own. They might have a question or two from time to time, but we do with my clients, we shoot a video for it. Hey, what questions are you getting? Oh, I get this all the time. Great. Shoot the video, talk about it. Because now I can just go, oh, here, I got a video for that. Boom. Right. At any time. And then you build a library and you can go and then what happens is you can say, hey, here's the website. Just click on this and you can find it there. Anytime that you do, go there first. And then if you can't find it, give me a call. Right. And I only take calls up till 7 p.m. because after 7 p.m. banks, everything's closed. And, and my family comes first. Right. Yeah. And so most don't set those standards. They're so scared about losing a client or somebody's, you know what I mean? They're so scared, but that's your own thing. Most people want that. Most people, they truly do. And if you lose one along the way, say thank you, and say thank you to yourself for having standards, for having boundaries, because I promise you, the more, and again, it forces you to do more upfront in that initial meeting. Get everything on the table there that you can. When you get questions, and if the worst thing that you can do is answer the same question over and over and over again. That's in business, that is you want to talk about burnout, say the same thing over and over and over to every client every day. You know what I mean? You can systematize it. Man, there's a quick fix for that, especially with today. Look at us, right? Yeah. We're in different states. And I've been last week doing podcasts. I was in the UK. I was in Ireland. You know what I mean? It's like, this is the greatest thing ever, man. We make this harder than it needs to be. Yeah. Simplify, pay attention, listen, and then systematize what you're doing. And
just sticking on this topic for a little bit, clarifying your expectations. Like, if you tell them up front, okay, I'm not available before 9 a.m. and I'm not available after 7 p.m. That is your time. And I think, and I know that every single high performer has the morning time to themselves and the night time to themselves. And then sometimes throughout the afternoon for breaks, whatever. But if you, like one of my former clients, he kind of half jokingly said that his email used to be his alarm clock. Like, he would get woken up by the notifications on his phone, immediately start diving into work. And he wondered why he was so stressed out and didn't have any time for himself during the day.
Right.
It's like, because you haven't scheduled out, you haven't blocked out that time for yourself. You're letting other people's problems, all these notifications and everything, dictate how you run your life. And that's no way to live. So tell us about the optimal self. And first off, what prompted you to create the optimal self?
Great question. So throughout, obviously, the first majority of my life was spent as an athlete playing baseball. Then I got into the real estate factor, and then I started coaching people through real estate, and then the gym as well. And we had different programs and stuff, coaching a lot of different people. And then obviously through baseball, I always had baseball camps in the winter. And, it's always a great way to stay connected to your community and make a little money in the off season. So you take all of those things as a coach, as a teacher, as whatever you want to mentor, whatever the word you want to look at. And it didn't matter it doesn't matter if I'm talking to CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or if I'm talking to a real estate agent that's just getting started, right? Like, there are some principles that have to happen. And one of the things that I didn't do very well in my younger days was, because we have a really big, with social media today, especially, it's heightened this, but we had it even before social media, and it's a comparison factor, and people looking at other people and think, oh my gosh, they have so much more than I do, or, and it's worse today because of social media. But I try to get people to understand, please know, that's always been the case. Like, before social media, it was the same thing. You would go to somebody's house for a party and see what they had. Oh my God, or the car that they drive. Like, yeah, you see it more today, and even through baseball, like, not wanting to be the best second baseman and going, okay, who's better? Oh my gosh, this guy's stole more bases, or this guy's done this. And you these comparison things. But through all of it, what I found was, it really doesn't matter what anybody else does. If I can focus on me and just be the best version of me, right? Then everything else takes care of itself. But I have to be able to identify what the best version of me is, who the best version of me is. So we put together some principles, and there's a great book. I highly recommend it to everybody. It's called The Book of Five Rings. It's an old samurai warrior from the 1600s, Miyamoto Musashi. And he says in that book, if you know the way broadly, you will see it in everything. And what he's saying is this: if you know the way broadly, which means excellence in anything, will increase your potential in everything. So a lot of times we want to go 0 to 100. Entrepreneurs today, they want to go 0 to 100. They want to I want to get there, right? Because right now you can pick up your phone and order it on Amazon, and it'll probably be to you before this podcast ends. They'll be knocking on your door, delivering some shit to you, right? Yeah. It's like, we're so ingrained for it today. But that's not how life works, right? Great success doesn't happen overnight. It happens with little things over and over and over again. So what we want to be able to teach, and everybody's different, but if I can get you to be and commit excellence in anything, just whatever that thing is, right? One of our principle number one is hydration. People miss this more than anything else in the world. Brain is 90% water. Muscles are over 80% water. Bones are over 70% water. But yet we come out of a fast, which is sleeping, right? And we wake up and we grab coffee, or we grab, you know what I mean? Like, we grab, because we need that like kickstart. Get me going. Don't talk to me until after I've had, 2 cups or whatever, right? Yeah. It's actually the exact opposite. So your control center, which is your brain, is over 90% water. And think about electricity and water, y'all. I want you to really think about it. Like, you know what happens, right? So now imagine that there is no water to all that electricity. It's short circuit. It doesn't have anything to go. You're working at like 60% of yourself just on that alone. So if I can get you to get up, and we call it the hydration cocktail. It's a pinch of Himalayan sea salt, lemon, and somewhere, depending on your size, somewhere between 16 and 24 ounces of water. First thing, that's what I drink every morning. If I can get you to just do that, be excellent in that, day in and day out and day in. And don't get me wrong, I'm a coffee drinker. I love coffee. I buy beans from all over the world. I crush them myself. I love it, right? But I have not earned the right to have it until I've done those things, right? I've had my water, I've had my workout, I've had my, protein and glutamine, like all those things that are important to me. Again, that's not for everybody, for me. And then Yeah. All right. Now I can sit down. I can have that cup of coffee. I can, go sit in the sun and, grab my book or whatever. But I want people to understand is that with optimal self, to become the best version of you, first of all, you have to believe it. Our mission, just so everybody's clear, is to help and inspire people to change behavior through belief and action so they can be the best version of themselves. Plain and simple. But here's the thing, to change behavior, you have to do it through belief and action. Belief is believe in where I'm going, believe in the plan, right? People come to you and you set down this, because they go, this is what I want to do, Taylor. This is what I need. And you're like, great, and you craft this plan and you craft it, right? And I guarantee you probably 10 out of 10, if you said, do you believe this plan will get you there? Right? Like, oh yeah, hell yeah. Right. It's always great. I always use, people that are listening, I always use weight loss as it, because they come in and they go, we want to lose 50 pounds. They're like, great. Why is that important to you? We take them down. We craft the plan. Here it is. Does this exercise and nutrition plan, do you believe if we do this, it'll get you 50 pounds? Almost, they're like, oh yeah, hell yeah. If I eat like that, if I get to the gym like that, or I train like that at home and I listen to you, no doubt. Okay, great. Well, here's the thing. Belief is a two-sided coin. So now we're going to flip it to the other side. In this side of belief, there's a three-headed monster to it. Now I'm going to ask you, do you believe that you are capable of that plan and goal? Do you believe that you are worthy of that end result? Do you believe you are deserving of it? So are you capable? Are you worthy? And are you deserving? You see, because they'll believe in the plan all day long. They'll be like, man, that's the greatest plan I've ever seen. Hell yeah. Write it down, send it over, checklists, all this shit. Right. But the truth is they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe they're worthy of that goal. They can't even see themselves 50 pounds down. They can't even see themselves, making $1 million with their business or $10 million with, you know what I mean? They can't even see themselves as a great husband or whatever. Like they can't even see themselves. They're like, oh man, I don't know. Right. So that's what we have to get through. So if we can help them change behavior through belief, then they will take action. So through belief and action, you can become the best version of yourself. And it's the little things, right? I'm sure if you haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear, do it. He's brilliant, great research in there. But again, it's small things. People ask me all the time, well, how long does it take to create a habit? I'm like, depends on the habit. Depends on you. Depends on how important that shit is to you. Like, because if it's
cocaine, it takes like a day to create a habit.
One day you're like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Can't wait to do that again.
Yeah. So I agree 100%. That's why the first thing that I do in my program is start with mindset, because you're absolutely right. If your head's not right, you're not going to be able to do anything else.
It doesn't matter what the plan is.
You just can't. Mindset always has to come first. So we got hydration as one of the, what'd you call them? Pillars?
Principles.
Oh, yeah, principles. So hydration, what else you got?
Number 2 is breathe. You hear it today in the world as meditation, but what are we really doing through meditation is we're focused on our breathing. Diaphragmatic breathing changes your state. There's incredible studies through Japan and even Harvard that we can literally, people that are anxious and nervous and all those kind of things, it's because we short breathe. So we challenge the breathing, right? And we work on some patterns that can literally change your life. That's why meditation is so popular today. And it's brilliant. We just don't use that word because I don't want it to be a catchword. I'm not trying to catch you, off guard, right? Number 3 is move. It's same thing. I'm not trying to catch you with exercise or whatever, or CrossFit. You see me as a CrossFit, winner of a CrossFit Games event, like, oh my God. Or you see me,
shit,
you're like,
I can't handle that.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Fuck CrossFit. That's stupid, right? Whatever. Like, I'm like, I get it. It's not for everybody. I don't even suggest it unless, you are willing to work on movement and things like that. But we call it move as a principle because everybody should move. And it's actually better for your brain than it is for your body. Aesthetically, yes, doing some resistance training and stuff like that. Will it change the shape of your body? Can we lose? Yeah, of course. But let me tell you this, just moving, a walk, something simple. We have, I call it the 3-minute no excuse morning, is that everyone has 3 minutes in the morning. I don't care what they say. You're lying to yourself if you don't. And they always say, well, I can't do that. I can't get to the gym. I'm like, okay, Do you use the bathroom? You do, right? So you sit on the toilet. Okay, here's what you're going to do. Grab your iPhone, click it, shut the toilet seat. And I want you to get on and off the toilet for a minute straight, 1 minute. See how many times you can do it, right? They're like, what? I can't. Oh, now you have no excuse. There's no excuse. You can make them, you can have them, but I can find a way that I guarantee you, again, oh, it's my knee. Oh, it's my back. I hear that shit all the time. And I can but literally we can fix it. So move is number 3. And then we go read, write, and be intentional. Reading is of course, because again, you have to be learning. You're either growing or dying. There is no status quo in this world. Yep. So again, you see me today. I mean, in my life today, April 9th, I turned 50 years old. When you see me, and I still tell people, you can look at the resume, you can look at baseball, you can look at CrossFit, you can look at the businesses that I've built and sold. And let me tell you something, that guy is not good enough for today. He'd get his ass kicked in my life today. Mm-hmm. And guess what? The guy who you see today, the guy that's doing what I did 5 years from now, he'd get his ass, he won't be good enough. Yep. So we have to constantly be learning. We do that through reading and writing. If I can tell you all the things outside of hydration, because that's the number one. But for me, writing, getting everything out of my head, getting it on paper, seeing it, making lists. I mean, I have journal after journal after journal. I have them titled, and it has literally saved my life. And so getting people to understand those things, reading and writing, and how powerful they are in your daily activity. And then obviously we set intention. One of my slogans is the power of tomorrow starts with your intention of tonight. And what that simply means is, man, what are you going to do tonight that you can set up so tomorrow is incredible? Which means, what do I have? What's on my plate? What do I got to do? If I'm going to the gym, get my gym clothes out, get my bag out, right? Get if you're a pre-workout person, whatever it is, like get everything out, get it ready, set up your day so that you step into your day ready to go, because decision fatigue is real, and fatigue makes cowards of us all. It's the thing that, you listen to people that have been through the Navy SEALs, right? The buds and all that kind of stuff. What they do the first week is they get sleep deprivation. They get you so fatigued, and then they start, because they want to see how much your mind can take. But again, less decisions in the morning, know what you're going to wear, know what you're going to do. Steve Jobs is very famous for this, right? We saw his closet. It was like all black shirts and all jeans, right? Yeah. Everything he did, that was one thing that he never had to think about. He's one of the greatest innovators that we've ever had in the world. We can take bits and pieces from these people and apply them to our lives. And if we could get these principles, and again, when we teach it, I really just want you to do one. I don't even care which one it is, but one that you're like, oh man, that's a difference maker. Let's try that. Okay. And then let's streak that thing together. Let's get it day in and day out and day in and day out. And I'm telling you, one good day leads to two good days leads to a great week, leads to a great month, leads to a great quarter. Don't skip it. Everyone's like, oh, it's a great life. Nope. Right. It's step by step. But if I can say anything to you guys today about all of that, is a lot of times we're missing confidence or motivation, and confidence is only earned. There is no other way to have confidence. You have to earn the right to have that confidence. And what's great about the human mind is we can do something very small that's for us, that we do it day in and day out and day in and day out. And over time, it builds confidence to say, oh man, I did that. I can do this now. And then I can do this. And those things, remember, habits are stacking all the time. They're stacking either really for you or really against you all the time. So understanding that and knowing that, man, and there's something to be said with our brains that when we honor what we tell ourselves for ourselves, it levels us up so quickly. Again, you
get that shot of dopamine.
Even for baseball, right? Like it didn't work I didn't hit 100 balls and then go out and all of a sudden I was the best player. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you this, I got a little bit more confident.
Yep.
And then I'd have a good game, or I'd have a really good at bat, hit a ball in a gap for a double. I'm like, oh man. And that would just drive me more to go back home and let me get my next 100 in. Let me get my next 100 in. And let me get my next 100 in. And over time, the results started to show up. And let's be clear, baseball was a failure to me. When I talk about it, it was a failure of my life. It's something that I failed at forward and hard, and I've learned a lot of lessons. But my goal was not to just do what I did in baseball. My goal was to be a 20-year major leaguer and go to the Hall of Fame and be, in there with Barry Bonds and, Ken Griffey Jr., all the Alex Rodriguez.
Unfortunately, Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame yet.
Well,
hopefully this next voting round.
Look, I don't care if this hurts anybody's feelings. If Pete Rose and Barry Bonds aren't in the Hall of Fame, they should just get rid of the Hall of Fame. Let's just be clear. That's if those guys aren't in the Hall of Fame, then you should just get rid of the Hall of Fame. There should be no Hall of Fame. So, but again, it's those little, it was a failure because I didn't get there, right? Like I didn't get there. I didn't. But I do know today that I was not put on this earth to be that guy. I was being on this earth to do what I do today, to help people become the best version of themselves. And that wasn't the platform for it. This is what we do now. And now this is the chance to leave an impact. This is the chance to leave a legacy and help people from my failures to learn and grow, and just know that every single person on earth, like you all have your own fingerprint. Nobody has the same one as you. Nobody.
Yep.
You're a very unique individual. Stop being like everybody else. Let's open it up and you be the best version of you, not your mom, not your dad, not your teacher, not your cousin, whatever, nobody else's version. But you got to be willing to get uncomfortable and to figure out who that is, and then get to living, man. Get to fucking living.
Boom. We'll leave it at that. And I believe that the best way to start making better decisions in your life is by getting a good night's sleep. Because like you mentioned, the sleep deprivation with the Navy SEALs, like that's one of the major reasons why that's so fucking difficult, is because they're running them on little sleep. I'm sure if you took BUDS, which is the basic entry to becoming a Navy SEAL, if you did that same training, but you let them go home and sleep and go into a cryo chamber and sauna, and you fed them optimal nutrition and all that type of stuff, anybody could pass it,
Yeah,
not anybody. There's still tremendous physical things, but that's one of the major things behind it, is sleep deprivation literally cuts your decision making dramatically. That's
very true.
Dramatically? No, I meant dramatically.
Yes.
And yeah, weight loss too. If you don't sleep, you got food cravings. I mean, so many things are tied to it. But yeah,
we're right there with you, man. We teach it. Yeah. Everything about what you just said is 100% factual. Like this is I don't even remember which study I read this, and they were saying that sleep is, even from the caveman days, it's the only thing you can't go without. Like,
and it's free. You
can live without food. You can live for a long time without even water to a certain extent. I mean, eventually, but the one thing that would kill you the fastest is lack of sleep.
I say sleep is the second most important thing in your life besides oxygen, because obviously if you stop breathing, you're going to need to breathe within a few minutes, but sleep is the second thing. A couple nights of like no sleep, you will die. And that's why it's just so crazy, all these entrepreneurs thinking that they can, get by and that they're doing okay on 5-6 hours of sleep. It's like, no, you're literally leaving money on the table. You're sacrificing your performance. So, all right, we're getting a little long here. Where can people find more about you, what you're doing with Optimal Self, your podcast that's dropping, which by the time this podcast airs, it will have already been out. So where can we find
you? Podcast is out. Just know we make it real easy for people. Optimalself.today is the website, and everything is there. All of our social handles. We have a free course on there. The Identity Creator. Again, it's we didn't get to that story, but part of that transition for me out of baseball and into being in regular life, I went through a really crazy identity crisis, I guess, that I didn't even know I was in. because my identity was so tied to being a baseball player. And I didn't really realize it. I'll try to be short, is that I was at a grocery store one day. And this was even after I started, doing some real estate stuff, and guy walks in, I see him, kind of recognize him. He's like, Jeremy, oh my God, how are you, man? He comes over, shakes my hand. He's like, stay here. I want my son to meet you. And he comes walking up with his kid, and he's like, hey, this is Jeremy. This is the baseball player I was telling you about. He went to the same high school that daddy went to, and he's telling this whole story. And I'm like, inside I'm dying, man. Cause I'm like, I'm not even a baseball player. Like, like that's not even, like, I haven't been on a field at that point in like a couple of years. I was like, oh man. And inside I was dying. But I mean, I met the kid and shook his hand, and we talked a little baseball and gave him some words of wisdom. And, I love that stuff so much. But internally I was dying. Externally I would look probably fine, but internally I was dying, man. I checked out at the grocery store. I went and sat down in my car, and I was like, what is going on? Why am I feeling this way? And I had to start doing some work, and so our identity creator literally is a way for you to sit down and, and start to create your identity. Because if you're tied to the car you drive, or the bank account, or your job, or a zip code, right? And so many people get caught up in that. And it's like, oh, I gotta have this car, or I gotta have this thing. It's like, it's all material, man. Because the moment it goes away, then who are you? Yeah. Right. And so if we can help some people figure that out. So it's a free course. Get them started with us, optimalself.today. And of course, I mean, I'm open, man. So my direct messages, I answer them all. I don't have a bot. I don't have people doing it. We have thousands of people, and I still answer them, and I will, because that's why I'm on this earth, dude. I really am. So if I can help in any way, they're more than welcome.
Love it. Awesome, Jeremy. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I absolutely support everything you're doing. It sounds like we had some pretty similar paths. I look forward to the release of your podcast. What's that called? Just Optimal Self too?
It's Optimal Self Podcast. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Cool, man. Tell them to jump on over. We would love it if you'll give us a rate and review and subscribe. If you like the content, and even if you don't like the content, man, tell us, because we're always trying to get better and trying to grow. So I get it's not for everybody. So if you hate it, tell us that too, because we want to get better, man, for sure.
Yeah. If you guys like this podcast, I'm sure you're going to like Optimal Self. I mean, we're pretty aligned. So absolutely go check out Jeremy and Optimal Self. And again, thanks so much for coming on the show. And don't forget, live the captain's lifestyle. Peace.